Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. John Romita Jr. hasn't responded. He said he was going to come, and then he hasn't come. So let's hope everything's all right. I guess he's going to reschedule. I hope, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard from him today, so I don't know if we messed up the time. The time for I don't know if he lives in New York and he is waiting an hour. I have no idea. So let's hope that he shows up. But I didn't want to not show up. But I understand if you drop out now, But I waited as long as I could. I think 15 minutes was long enough to wait, and I don't know what to say. I was all prepared to talk with John Romita Senior, John Romita Jr. Tell him about my meeting with his dad, but haven't heard from him. I got a confirmation yesterday, and then nothing. So if you want to leave, that's fine. I don't know what else to say. Anybody want to come in and talk? I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared for a. Oh, there we go. Make that bigger. So let's just check out the comments. So of course, my comic, Fun My Comic, it's on Fun My Comic. Heroic Tales 2, still available. I've been getting every day. I've been getting people who said they saw me on Yellow Flash, and Yellow Flash gave me a shout out on his video about the White Black Panther. So I'm very thankful for that. That is just totally awesome. Psychic Sam is Mark Miller and John Romita Jr.'s new comic. It's on Kickstarter right now. I was going to back it live while they were talking. So he didn't show up. So I'll still back it, though. Let's just hope everything's okay. We got Vinegar. Sup amigos, I thought I'd show up on the chat because I admit I'm a sucker for it. Yeah, well, sorry he showed up and then my guest didn't show up. It's either one or the other. It's either Vinegar or John Romita Jr. I think, All Dirty Fatty says hello. Wang, yeah, everybody's here. I feel so bad. I'm kind of embarrassed. Everybody's saying hello. I hope he's okay. Yeah, I hope he's okay too. Maybe he's making rounds, saving the city from bad art. There you go. The Don. Yep. Well, John Romita didn't show up, so I don't know what to say. Everybody's here, and I'm looking pretty foolish. That's right. It's all John. I like hearing you positive too. Oh, thank you. He's not here. I know. I'm a little embarrassed, but what can I do? Let's just hope that it was just let's just hope that it was a miscommunication between time zones, which has happened before. So hope the dude shows up. Everything some BS. Have a good show though, bro. I'm off to fix it. Well, yeah, you got to eat. You got to eat. What is Duck Bacon? He probably heard your thoughts about cable. Have you seen Jay and Vinegar in the same room? There you go. Yeah, Vinegar, get out of the chat. JR, and get in here. So what do you guys want to talk about? I was prepared to talk to JR. I didn't have anything else to say. I will say that I've gotten like a bunch of messages. I've gotten a bunch of DMs and requests about my comic from being on Yellow Flash. That was really, really exciting, a lot of fun. So I'm really grateful to Yellow Flash. I am my comic between all three platforms got 300 backers. I'm at 120. So I didn't launch on Kickstarter yet. I'm gonna wait till Fund My Comic campaign is over and then do like a secondary campaign on Kickstarter. I would like to get to 301 backers. That's my goal, 301 backers. But there you go. People got questions for JR. How about drawing the prowlers? You hang out answering questions. You don't have to draw anything. I can't draw. You want to see me draw? Oh God, that's horrible. Hey, how you doing? Hey everybody. Yeah, Dan Panosian said he would come on too. I'll give him another nudge. Well, you're buddies with Dan. So I emailed John. I emailed Mark, and I sent DMs to both, and I haven't heard back. But just yesterday I got a confirmation. So I wonder if there's just an issue, maybe technical difficulties, or we messed up on the time. I looked at the email. The email was fine. What do you want me to do? So draw stream. Nobody wants to watch me draw. I'll have to help interview Dan. I wish we could all meet up for a game. Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be so much fun? everybody come over here, play some games. You know, I put a picture on the on the Twitter today to Harmony Ginger of my game room. She was talking about games, and I built this game room for the sole purpose of having people come over and play games. Now, if you're local, or if you want to fly out and stay in a hotel, we have a small house. I playing games, you need people. I Monday nights I play games with my friend Adam and his group, and on Tuesday nights I play games with Rich and Dom, and it's we haven't done it in a while because I've been promoting. Dom's been sick, and Adam had a leak in his house, so it just like for the past 2 months I haven't had a game. But this week we played Star Wars Risk, Adam and I, and that was so much fun. A nice simple game. The funny thing about Star Wars Risk is Rebels always win. Rebels always win. Doesn't matter who plays the Rebels, they win. And then I went online to see, were we playing wrong? Is there a rule that I'm messing up with? And no, it's just a different strategy. And it's funny because the forums all say the Empire always wins. That it's too easy. They're trying to figure out a way to make it harder for the Rebels. I mean, easier for the Rebels. I'm like, what are you, nuts? But they had some strategy tips, so I'm eager to play that. Oh, we got a super chat. I'm on a 5-minute break or question for. Well, he didn't show up. And I got 56 people watching this, and I'm really embarrassed. 56 people who are never going to watch me again. I loved his 80s X-Men work. Does he have a favorite story that he drew from his time? Ask it again. You got credit. You got $10 credit or 10 Hobbit bucks, whatever New Zealand money is. I know I tease you, but I shouldn't. You're like my biggest sponsor. And you don't have to do it, RR. I feel bad. I hope everything is cool with JR. Me too. I might as well show you this. I was hoping to talk to him about this. Where is it now? Oh, okay. I put it someplace so it would be easy to find, and then I can't find it. Okay. This is me, a beardless, younger me, meeting John Romita Sr. And I just wanted to talk about this. This is me hanging out in John Romita Sr.'s living room where he drew Spider-Man. And the funny thing is as I'm walking through the house, I'm like, this is May Parker's house. I recognize the house from the drawings. So that was fun. A lot of cool stories about that. Excuse me. But he didn't show up. And I apologize to everybody. We got a huge crowd watching. I'm really embarrassed. But JR did not show up. I haven't heard from him. I don't know. We confirmed yesterday, and then he didn't show up. By the way, if I made it over, I have to play with Excalibur. Sorry, I saw that movie more than anybody. Yep, I love that movie. That's one of my favorite. I bought it on DVD. Where is it? Right there. My Excalibur sword. Some person. Where does Jerry live? Maybe it's a time zone. See, I don't know. I assumed he lived in Florida. I don't know. Maybe it's a technology problem. Could be a technology problem. The 80s X-Men stuff was the best. Nothing to be embarrassed at. Yeah, I feel like I let everybody down. Don't worry, it's okay. Thank you. I'm sure my regulars, understand, but people who are just tuning in just to see JR, like, this guy's a fraud. Can you talk about meeting Jilly? Okay, I'll talk about that. So I'll put that back up. Okay, so I'll tell the story about this. So I was working with Pete, no last names, and me and Pete were working together, and we started talking about comics because that's what I do. I talk about comics. And Pete was just like, oh, yeah, that's right. You're into comics. And your brother told me that. Pete also worked with my brother. And he was like, do you know this guy, John Romita? And I was like, yeah, of course. I'd never met him, but yeah, he's a legend. He's like, is he a big deal? I'm like, oh my God, is he a big deal? He's like a big deal. I said, if there was like a Marvel Comics Mount Rushmore, he would be, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, John Buscema, maybe John Romita Sr., and then a fifth head of Steve Ditko. He's like, oh, wow, that's cool. He's like, hey, it's my next door neighbor. I was like, get out of town. He's like, no, he's my next door neighbor. And we just talked about him. Like he didn't, and he just told me, he's like, yeah, he's a nice old guy. I help him with his garbage cans, and I see him putting up Christmas lights, so I'll go over there. Pete's a real good guy, good neighbor, and and he's like, oh, we'll have barbecues together. And he never talks about comics because Pete's not interested in comics. Pete's a sports guy. So he's like, you want to meet him? I was like, absolutely, I want to meet him. So we just waited until we both had furlough at the same time, and he called me up and went to his house. Pulled up, and John Romita's wife answered the door. And it was funny because Pete and the wife sat in the living room, and they talked about the neighborhood because they both have been there for like 30 years. And, John Romita Sr. longer. So Pete's been there for like 20, 30 years. And then me and John sat in this room that you're looking at right now. And man, it's funny. I showed up with my Amazing Spider-Man 39. So that's the first John Romita comic, Spider-Man comic. So I'm like, will you autograph this? And he's like, oh, sure. And he took it and he rolled it in his hand. And I'm like, oh my God. And I can't tell John Romita Sr., don't mess up my comic. You know what I mean? And he puts it on his table, and he signed it. And he did what the old school guys do. He opened it up and he signed it on the inside. Then he closed it. And as he's talking to me, I'm looking to see did he put any crease in it. No, he still left it. I put it in. But and we just sat in this chair and we talked for like 4 hours. Mrs. Romita was serving drinks. It was just like he was the friendliest guy. We talked about Steve Ditko. He told me about the current state of Marvel. I just have to laugh at all of these people now who invoke the name of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and John Romita. And he was horrified about what Marvel's doing. He was like rolling his eyes. He's like, Stan was still alive at the time. He was like, Stan's not happy. Oh my God. Yeah. And it's funny. It's just funny to hear him say stuff that I can't repeat, but it was great. We just like the first thing he goes, I guess you want to know about Ditko. Like he must hear it all the time. So we talked about Ditko. What year was this? Love your shirt. Yeah. Change into fish. There's an H.P. Lovecraft shirt. What year was this? I'm going to say 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Yeah. 10 years ago. And the story that I always remember was right behind, like if right in the middle of us, you can't see it in this picture, but right in the middle of us, directly behind us, there's a little table and there's a little jar of ink. And the jar of ink was only 1/4 filled with ink. And he shows it. And then Romita's hands, oh my God, like the hands were normal. And then the fingers were all bent from years of pushing down on the paper. You know what I mean? They were all bent. And he was old, so he walked almost like an orangutan, and he picked up this jar of ink and he holds it up, and it's like this full. Because you see that ink? He goes, this company went out of business like 40 years ago. He goes, when I heard they were going out of business, I bought all the bottles of this ink that I could. He goes, and this is the last bit of the last bottle. He goes, when this ink is done, I don't draw ever again. And I was like, wow. I said, so you don't do digital? He goes, no, my son does digital. He goes, but I don't do digital. He goes, when this is, and I was just like, that's like the end of an era. He'll never draw again, when that ink is gone. So I was just like, like that ink belongs in a museum kind of thing. Like we need to clone this ink, get scientists working on it. Let's see. There's another super chat. All right, come on, man. I get embarrassed. No sweat. I'm still the best. Thank you. Thank you. I get embarrassed. It's funny. I actively discourage people from super chatting me. What kind of YouTuber am I? Your boy Zach, before he went crazy, that's one of the things he said. He didn't like live streams because he's a weirdo. Live streams are fun. Interacting with people is fun. I understand comic books is a solo hobby, but I like people and I like talking to people. So I don't understand that. But anyway, but he did say that getting super chats embarrassed him. And I thought that was the weirdest thing in the world. I'm like, that's the dream, get super chats. You don't have to go to work anymore. But now I get them. I mean, I don't get enough that it changes my life. But when I do get them, I'm like, I feel a little embarrassed. But by all means, that's since RR brought it up, That's why I made these, because here, I'll make this big. That's why I made these. The Memphis King Fighting Society for King Fu. So join the Memphis King Fighting Society. So if you live in the continental United States, $5 super chat or $5 PayPal at johnslongbox@yahoo.com. I'll mail you one of these. It's limited finish. Good, you know what I mean? Just so I feel good about myself. It's kind of like a no prize. Just sent him a reminder. Yes, I sent him an email. I sent him a DM on Twitter, but the thing is, he doesn't follow me on Twitter, so I don't know if he gets it. I sent Mark Millar a message, so let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Marcus, you want to pop in? Marcus, you want to pop in? This way, because I like riffing with people. I like having people. So Marcus, I sent you an invite. If anybody wants to pop in, just say, you know what? Here you go. Open invite. Because everybody's John Romita. There you go. Everybody's John Romita today. It's John Romita Day on a long bar. John's wife was a legend. Yeah, Roz was Jack Kirby's wife. It was nice hearing Pete talk about the neighborhood. That was fun. Yes, John Romita Jr. did not show up. He did not show up. I haven't heard from him. We confirmed yesterday, and then he didn't show up today. So I'm hoping it's technical issues. I'm wondering if it's time zones. I don't know where he lives. I assumed he lives in Florida, like every older New Yorker, except me. So did Stan hate what Marvel's become? Yes, he did. John Romita Jr. had some very choice. John Romita Sr. had some very choice words for what they were doing at Marvel. This was 10 years ago, so we'll say around 2015, right before I quit Marvel. So it must have been, I was still collecting Marvel, so it was 2014, 2015, and Romita just was not happy. He was not happy. He was not happy with Marcus Kellegrew, matter of fact. So
there,
Mark, how you doing? So
hey, how you doing? I just had to turn everything off. I'm in a hotel in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Nice. So Tony Guigo just asked, did Stan hate what Marvel was becoming? And not only did Stan hate what Marvel was becoming, he also hated Yang Yao Zhang. So there you go.
No way.
Absolutely.
I love Yang Yao Zhang.
Yeah. If just take the super chat, people do it out of love. Yes, I know. You'll see if you get a channel with super chats, you find it's But
when you guys do deep D&D, you might lose me a little.
So
well, that's all right.
So for those, I'm really embarrassed, guys, because the numbers people just keep popping in. John Romita Jr. didn't show. It's not a scam. We did have it set up. He confirmed yesterday. I'm going to assume it's technical difficulties. I sent messages out. I hope he would like to reschedule.
Well, he wants to promote the book. That's one of the reasons why he came on.
Yeah. I mean,
by the way, I'm now not backing the book until he shows up.
Yeah.
I mean, I will eventually back it anyway, but I kind of want him to see what happens here.
Yeah, I was hoping people would back.
And I wanted to back it.
Yeah,
I wanted to back it on your show.
Yeah, make it look like I have. Looks like.
Yeah.
So,
looks like an interesting book.
Yeah, Mark Miller knows how to write a comic. So there you go. So people ask me what. So we talked about Stan. The first thing we talked about is why did Steve Ditko leave? And John Romita Sr., as far as I'm concerned, he's the horse's mouth. You're not going to get Ditko and Stanley, but this is the closest you're going to get to the horse. And he said, "I don't know," because nobody knows. It's between Stan and Steve, and he was very gracious. He goes, I talked to Steve. And he was not upset that I took the position, because everybody was just like, why did Steve leave? Because at that point, not only was working in comics like a risky business, but he had a stable position in one of the top selling comics, and he left. It was unheard of. And then he goes, John Romita's like, yeah, I was gonna have, I had a baby, I wanted to buy a house. He goes, I will always be grateful for what Steve Ditko gave me. He goes, but I don't know why he left. And if John Romita Jr. John Romita Sr. doesn't know why Steve Ditko left Spider-Man, I kind of don't believe everybody else. You know what I mean? Everybody who has the definitive take on it. I'll listen to Mark Ditko. He's Steve's nephew. But Stan was didn't like what was going on at Marvel. John Romita Sr. had some very choice words of what was going on at Marvel. He did not like it. What else did we talk about? Oh, we talked about Jim Shooter, and you could tell that I was a big fan of Jim Shooter, so he was really nice about it. But he goes, Jim Shooter was great until he wasn't great anymore. But
that's like every relationship ever.
Yeah,
she was a great girlfriend until she wasn't.
Yeah, I loved her until I didn't love her anymore. But he said that Marvel needed a lot of fixing, and Jim came and fixed everything. He goes, and once everything was fixed, he didn't stop fixing. Which I could see.
Yeah.
What else did he have to say? He talked about he talked about Marvel after he left. Oh, you guys got to go.
Oh, it's good talking to y'all.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi, fine. How you doing? I wasn't sure if it was 6:30 or 7, and I apologize if it was 6:30.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, I was just filling time with my friends. I'm so glad you're here. First off, thank you. This is how I'm meeting you live on my channel. I assumed it was a time difference.
No, I actually got Sarah told me 7, but then I got a notification that it was going to be at 6:30, and I thought maybe it was what I set up to warn me a half hour in advance. At any rate, I'm glad I checked in. I didn't make you wait too long. I apologize.
No, it's no. I went live just to tell people you could leave because nobody wants to see me. Everybody's here to see you.
That's all right. That's all right. Look at
So I'm so glad.
My laptop died an unpleasant death recently, and I haven't gotten a new one. So I'm putting you on my phone right here, which is decent, but I'm ashamed to say my laptop is gone. I'm going to bury it again. Either throw it out into the ocean or just bury it. I'm not sure.
Give it a nice little dignified funeral.
Yeah. Let me turn myself this way so it looks like. So it even looks like I have a laptop. How about that one?
That is perfect. Well, first off, you made my day. I'm going to be smiling. I was telling people the story when I met your dad. So I guess I'll bring this up. Oh, of course, I closed everything like an idiot because
no, I'm still with you.
No, I closed the pictures because you showed up and I panicked, got rid of everybody.
So tell me the story. Tell me about meeting the old man. Tell me about it.
Your next door neighbor growing up was Pete. I'm not going to say the last names, but Pete and Paula, right? You know.
Yep.
Pete?
Yes.
Well, I work with Pete and Paula. Well, I work with Pete. And
okay.
First off, Paula is one of the most beautiful women in the world. But anyway, so Pete, if you're watching, you lucked out. But we were working for a while, and he was just like, "Oh, you like comics? Your brother told me you like comic books. Do you know this guy John Romita Sr.?" I was like, "Well, not personally, but yeah." And he's like, "Is he a big deal?" I'm like, "Is he a big deal?"
No kidding.
So I'm like, "This is like Babe Ruth we're talking about." He's like, "Really?" He goes, "Because he's my next door neighbor, and he's just like the nice guy,
This is where my mother and father lived. Well, first of all, that's the house that we moved into when I was 8, and they were living there till my mother still lives there after my father passed. And Pete and his wife are next door. Yes, they're great people. They take good care of my mother. It's nice.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, he's like the nice guy. We have barbecues together. We hang out. He goes, "I know the son. He knew Kick-Ass and everything like that." But he's like, and I knew the father kind of did something. I was like, I said, he drew Spider-Man. When you close your eyes and you think of Spider-Man, his image, so he was like, "You want to meet him?" I was like, "Of course I will." So we both were, we're both electricians. So you know how we have times off
yes.
for a period. So we both had furlough period. He invited me to your dad's house, or your dad invited me through Pete. And we went to your dad's house, and here I am. This was 10 years ago.
Oh, that is so cool.
And
that is so cool.
We sat in this room for hours talking about, the first thing he says, he goes, "I guess you want to know about Steve Ditko." I guess that must be like the standard question. And we just talked, and your dad was the most pleasant, charming guy. And we talked about music. We talked about baseball. He just talked about everything. And it's funny because he goes, "Oh, you like Frank Sinatra?" I'm like, "Of course I like." He gets up, he starts handing me his records. He goes, "Take these."
Yeah.
I'm like,
he had the vinyl. He had the vinyl. Yes.
I was like, I'm not leaving here with your stuff. People keep like, oh, you went to an old 87-year-old guy's house and robbed him. I'm like, no, I can't take anything, Mr. Romita. But the funny story I always tell is I gave him my copy of Amazing Spider-Man 39. And I put it in your dad's head, and then your dad rolled it up, and I'm like, oh my God, he's wrinkling my comic, and I can't yell at Mr. Romita, you know what I mean? So he signed it, he gave it back to me, and as he's talking, I'm like, it's perfect, it's fine, he didn't wrinkle it. But when I came home, my wife said, John, you didn't smile like this on our wedding night, but you smile like this after meeting John Romita Sr. Oh, you're frozen. Did I lose you? Oh, John's having internet problems, everybody. So hope he comes back. Oh, good night, everybody. That was our talk with John Romita Jr. Yeah, we're having internet problems. What Geeks Do says, just got here. Perfect timing. I'm going to remove this, and then I hope he comes back. In Mexico, it's 5 p.m. J.O.J. made my childhood. Could you talk about your Punisher role with Chuck Dixon? Yeah, we got a lot of questions to talk about. Again, he's having internet problems. It's okay, Mr. Romita. Do what you got to do. Oh, okay, he's back.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm just glad you're here. So
Glitch is my middle name, Johnny Glitch Romita.
Oh, you should watch my first early videos. It's embarrassing. So I don't know what did he hear everything that I said about?
I did. That's a great story, and that's my old man. He was that kind of guy. He was a mensch, and he loved everybody he met and treated everybody that way. That's the way he was.
Yeah. The story did he had this bottle of ink? I was telling the story earlier, and he said when that bottle it had like a fourth. He goes, when this bottle is empty, I don't draw ever again. He said the company went out of business 20 years ago. He goes, I bought a ball up, and now, I was just like, we got to clone this ink because it's like a national treasure. But anyway,
that's a good story. Yeah.
Dad was a great guy. I met him. I went over another time. Pete is like, come on over. We'll meet. So we went over a second time. But that first time, oh my God, I'll never forget it.
That's a cool story. I like hearing stories about him and meeting people, and that's the way he was. It was no equivocation. He was that man that you met at conventions or in person like that. He was never different. That's the way he was.
That's like the old school comic guys. They're all like I met Carmine Infantino. I never met Jack Kirby, but they're all just like old cool guys that just like guys.
They were. There was a couple of crusty ones in the group, but they were all depression babies, and they all had that great work ethic and appreciated everything they earned, because they had to put food on the table back in those days, and they didn't they didn't begrudge anybody making a living, but they appreciated every penny they earned. Those are the kind of guys they were.
And they want to feed you.
That's it. It's the truth. And we didn't know we were poor, my brother and I, because they treated us so well. And we ate a lot of pasta when we couldn't afford to eat a lot of meat. Excuse the expression. We were eating pasta, but it was delicious. It was tomato sauce. So we didn't know any different.
My mom would make there were 7 of us. My father was a telephone man, Italians. Make a pot of sauce. We would come running home, Ronzoni, that's a 99-cent box of Ronzoni and a pot of sauce that lasted. We thought we were the kings.
Ronzoni, baby.
So I grew up in Nassau County, not too far.
All right.
I'm not going to dox, but I grew up not too far away from you guys.
Yep.
And the house that you grew up in, when I was in that house, I was like, "This is Spider-Man's house. This was Aunt May's house."
Well, that's the second house I grew up in. The first one was in Queens Village,
right,
about 7 miles west of the house you were in, and I moved there. They moved me there after I was born in Brooklyn Heights, Crown Heights Hospital, and they went to Queens. I was just an infant, and we lasted there about 7.5, 8 years, and then went to Belrose Village, 7 miles east of there, and it felt like we were moving into the mountains because there were trees. We actually saw a lot of trees. Holy crap, green trees, and it was a whole 7 miles east. But that house you saw was the house that I lived in until I was, I forgot, 21, I think, or 22, and got my own place after that.
Okay. Do you still live in New York now?
No, I'm in Texas. I'm outside of Austin with my beautiful wife and our little beautiful daughter, Bella, my little puppy Chihuahua, Bella. We moved here full-time in October, just past October, but we bought this house a couple of years ago. and we're working on selling our New York home, and finally got it sold, and came down here to Texas happily, and it's beautiful down here. I love it.
Oh, okay. I just assumed you were in Florida, like every ex-New Yorker.
No, we own property in California. We were thinking about doing that, but we wanted to live comfortably. In California and New York are not inexpensive to live. And so we're going to eventually get a place in California that we can enjoy as a vacation place,
Okay. Yeah.
that kind of thing. But no, not Florida. We lived in Florida, believe it or not, in Sarasota a million years ago. We owned a place in Sarasota, and then had to sell it, and got too humid and hot in the summertime. Drove my wife crazy.
Oh my God! I stepped off the plane in Florida, and it feels like somebody just throws a hot, muggy blanket over you, and you can't take it off until you get it.
Good way to describe it. Good way to describe it.
Yeah, I'm getting near that age where I got to retire soon. I'm an electrician. I can't keep working. It's
understood. That's blue collar. That's hands on. That's different from me not really having a job. I just get paper cuts once in a while.
But I got to get out of New York. They don't want us here. Unless you work in New York, don't want you here.
It's ridiculous. The amount of money we were living in Port Jefferson before we moved. And
I'm not far away from you.
Yeah, the property taxes were ludicrous, and we could have paid them and continued to pay them, but I got out of the principle. The principle of the matter was I didn't want to spend that kind of money and pay anybody that kind of money just to live. They should deliver me breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the taxes that we were paying.
Yeah.
So that was part and parcel to get us getting out.
Tell me about it. I broke my neck in July, and I was out of work for 6 months, and I just got hit with like a property tax bill. Oh my God!
Oh boy.
I don't even have sewers. I don't even have sidewalks over here. I'm way out. It's what are you doing with my money? What are you doing? You're supposed to be Republicans out here. So
there you go.
We got a whole bunch of people watching, and everybody's so excited. So
that's nice. I'm saying hello to everybody. I hope it's nobody I owe money to.
Well, people say first off, we got Psychic Sam. So you want?
Yeah.
That's the reason why we're all here. Is you got a Kickstarter? Is this your first crowdfunder?
I think it is. The two creator-owned properties I did, Gray Area and Kick-Ass, I don't believe they were crowdfunding. And I don't think Gray Area. No, Gray Area it was produced by it was the Icon label at Marvel.
Right.
And then it went. That was Kick-Ass, but the Image I think did Gray Area. I think I'm almost sure it was Image, and that wasn't. They are a legitimate label. So no, the answer to your question is this is my first.
So did I assume Mark is like, hey, let's try a crowdfunder?
Yeah. And it's so far so good. We're getting a lot of attention. And plus anybody that remembers Kick-Ass remembers Mark and me, and also the Enemy of the State. And this is I said third time is a charm, and this is the charm. This is a brilliant premise. And it's Klaus and Bill Crabtree and I, the three of us, are having a good time. And Klaus is a genius. Bill Crabtree is a genius. I'm very happy, and the work is beautiful, and the story is making the work beautiful. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah. Well, Mark could write. Everything is different. I started. Mark is going to come back on my channel in a couple weeks, so I started rereading all of his stuff, and I'm rereading Kick-Ass for the first time since it came out. Man, the guy's Scottish, and he's writing like New Yorkers, like he lives life.
He gets his New York filled with me, and he calls up, and we discuss things, and he says, "Okay, now I know exactly how I want to sound when I write it," and that cracks me up. He's writing with a New York accent, but this takes place in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So he I guess he feels the back alleys of Los Angeles are similar to the back alleys of Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, or the Bronx, but he does have a sense of street level stuff, and he's got that with the gangs and the violence and stuff in any big city, and it applies to Los Angeles, applies to New York, applies to anywhere else. He's just got a great premise. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's got an ear. He's got an ear for dialogue. So good, so much fun. So I'm just trying to. I'm trying to scale back to all the questions. There's like a million questions. Everybody's asking this one.
There you go.
JR made my childhood. Can you talk about your Punisher run with Chuck Dixon?
Yeah, and I hate to say that it's confined to one little episode, but the fun of it became.
Oh, we froze again. We got the legend here, so I guess we're getting technical difficulties again. What is this comment? I inked J.R.J.R. Spidey's in the Marvel Trial book and got up to sign the results in Forbidden Planet in London, 1984. By his expression, I realized I needed to improve. That's funny. The Midwest is waiting. Oh, there you go. There you go.
All right, Tone. Okay, I hate to confine the fun of the Punisher back to one little moment, but I told Chuck Dixon is I don't want the Punisher to look like Superman, straight jaw, perfect nose. I said he's been in too many fights and he's an animal and he's no superpowers, but he's a tough bastard. I said if he gets into a fight, it's got to look like he's been in a fight. And Chuck said, of course. He says, do whatever you want, knock yourself out. So I went to the editors and I said, can I beat the Punisher up a bit? He's going to get his ass kicked in this next issue. Yeah, as long as you don't get too carried away. I got carried away, and it stuck because it still looked like the Punisher, but it looked like the boxer Punisher. It looked like a couple of my buddies, looked like some of my relatives. You get hit even with one punch in a bar room or any location, your face swells up. Superhero comics does not accurately show. I even wanted to do it with Peter Parker. I wanted to do it with Superman, but they said it has to be a superhero, a super villain that would do that damage to Superman. But I did it with Peter Parker recently. You get the snot beat out of you by Tombstone. You've got to show it. And, a couple of bandages and Aunt May wonders what's going on. But with the Punisher, I had so much fun because it became that look. And Chuck and I we loved the fact that he looked like a beat up boxer.
Yeah, and Chuck said that you were very serious about making him an Italian. So he was an Italian from New York who's
got you back.
Yeah, he's been in a brawl.
Okay. So that's it. I appreciate that. Love the Punisher's nose. It looked like every nose I ever grew up with in my neighborhoods. Nobody had a straight nose in my family.
Oh, what? Somebody was asking about.
Well, you froze again, Tone. Is that what it is? Or are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back.
Tony, there you are.
My wife
you froze. Somebody said they love Punisher's nose. I said those are the noses I grew up with.
So people are asking.
Tony, you were getting bad. Are you back?
I'm back.
All right.
Yeah.
So somebody wrote they love Punisher's nose, and I said those are the kind of noses I grew up on. Never saw a straight nose in my whole life. So let's see, anything you wanted to do on Daredevil run with Ann Setting that you never got to? That's a great question. No, as a matter of fact, the plots that I had come up with on my own and proposed those to Ann, she used Beer with the Devil and so on, and Black. What do you call it? The Mephisto's son, Blackheart, was a character I created. And I got a chance to do Typhoid Mary the way I wanted to draw her. So Anne gave me a lot of leeway. But as far as more than I wanted to do that I didn't get a chance to, if we had stayed on it another couple of years, I'm sure there would have been more. But Anne was brilliant. And then I got a chance to work with Frank, who's brilliant. I had a great time with Daredevil. And if I had a chance to go back on a book that I've done, I'd like to go back to, it would be Daredevil.
Do you like the street level guys?
I do.
Yeah.
It's because I can at least have the reality of it and add a little fantasy to it. That's what was so fun about Peter Parker living in Forest Hills, not too far from us. That's the way to be. Stan said, add reality to add a little bit of reality to fantasy, and you get more out of it. If you add too much or too little, you have to find the right balance. And that was the great thing about New York City, became a part to the Stan Lee Marvel Universe. And when we would drive to go visit my grandparents in Connecticut, my father said, "That's Peter Parker's building right over there." "No, are you kidding me, Dad? Peter Parker lives near us?" That kind of thing. That's the reality that you live, answer to a little bit of fantasy. You add to it. Brilliant stuff.
I work in Manhattan now, and that's one of the things I do is I'll take pictures. Like I work by the Fripp Museum, and I'm like, this is Avengers Mansion.
Yeah.
I worked in 40 East Broadway, and that's the Baxter Building. And I was in that building for like 3 years.
Great.
And then I just happened to know. Wait, this is the Baxter Building.
And listen, this is Stan's brilliance. Everything about the Marvel universe, semi-derivative of the DC stuff. Think about it. Superman was red and blue. The opposite, the polar opposite, is Spider-Man, red and blue. But he works for a newspaper. He's got a crusty editor-in-chief. I see that it was the right way. Is that it was done in New York City, not Gotham, not Metropolis. I don't know why the DC folks decided to rename New York City or any big city, but Stan wanted it to be a character, and New York City became a character. And horribly, 9/11 became the ultimate character. It got defeated for a brief time. Oops, lost you, Tone. Are you still there, Tone?
I'm still there. I'm still
okay.
I'm still here. Yeah.
Okay, you're blinking in and out on me.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm back. I'm still here.
People are asking. I wanted to ask you about Ann Senti said that she actually took like fighting classes so she could write Daredevil. You know, and
she did mention it. I didn't know how true it was, but
yeah, I'll take her. I'm not. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant because here, what else is Daredevil going to do but get into fistfights? So
it's
like
the truth. It's the truth.
That's the dedication to the craft. Is this was a woman who was a secretary and now she's taking fighting class.
She was an editor. She started out as a secretary, but she was an editor, and she's a brilliant writer. Before long, she became the writer on Daredevil. But that's brilliance that just eventually pops its head up. And as far as taking, I didn't know that she actually took them. I thought she was just kidding around. Never knew that.
I don't know. I just read in an interview that she said she was. I'll take her on a word for it. But I just find that to be fascinating. Like, learn how to throw a punch, because you could, like you said, somebody getting punched in the face. Believe it or not, I've been in a bar fight or two, and
you get hit, and you know it for a long time.
Yeah, like Tyson says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
And listen, and Romita Sr. taught my brother and I how to box. We were kids who learned how to box. Oh, yeah? And I was a good boxer until I got into real competition. I'm 0 for 49, by the way. I got beat up 49 times. But that part about the boxing played a part in the choreography of action with me. And he occasionally said, he says, listen, you remember how I taught you how to do this, this, and this? You had to do, you go left, right, jab, cross, undercut, uppercut. He said, apply it to the superheroes. Why not? And that was the fun part. And I think the reality is what you add to the fantasy, even in the fights. On a larger scale, if Thor is fighting Mangog, come on, he's not going to just use his hammer. Right. When Superman crushed a gigantic robot, a gigantic demon, that kind of thing, I said, I'm used to it. I can do this. Superman hits something and destroys it. You have to have that balance of the boxer or the fight. And I loved everything about that because it brought reality to the fantasy that we work in.
So you led me to a good question. When you're working with somebody like Chuck Dixon or Mark, do they script out the fights, or do they let you do the choreographing for the fight?
They'll ask for anything specific that they had their heart desires. If they had one particular moment, they'll say, I really would like to have this happen. Otherwise, knock yourself out. That term, knock yourself out, is always with Mark. He doesn't have to tell me how to show a fight, to choreograph a fight, but he'll say, I'd like this to happen and them end up in this position, so to speak, so I can get this point across. And a lot of writers will do that. But nobody choreographs a fight per se. They just say, we'd like this to happen by the end of the fight. And unfortunately or fortunately, I'm older than all of my writers. And they give me the deference. They say, listen, we know you're experienced in this. We know what you can do. So long as this is a highlight in it.
Yeah,
that might need small restrictions. That's about it.
We need Spider-Man on his back over here so that this can carry the story. But
yeah, it's exactly right. Exactly right.
I just think it's funny because our generation, we've been around the block, like you said. You were in boxing, 49 boxing matches, just that.
No, I was being facetious. I got beat up 49 times. I wasn't literally in 49. I was 0 for 3 in my semi-professional career in the gym. But I say I lost 49 fights in the bars and the clubs.
Oh, okay. But still, just being in a fight, is tougher than most. How many people just talk tougher? I punch Nazis. How many Nazis have we actually?
Hey, listen, we would go out to clubs, and my friend John and I, ironically, his name was John too. We would go out. We were the small guys in the group. My friends were gigantic people and muscular and strong. They were superheroes. And we would go out and say, listen, can you pick on people our size for once, please? Never happened.
It must be the name John. Must be Italians from New York. John,
Could be.
My friends are all over six. All my friends are over 6 feet tall, and we would go out, and everybody would get out of the car at these giants, and then I would come out. But who's the one that needs to fight? You know, who's the one that's bailing them? Everybody else.
The small guys. And I would wear a really nice suit. And I said, guys, can I wear this suit tonight, or was this going to get bloody? Don't worry about it. We won't cause any trouble.
Yeah. Oh, you drinking hard liquors? Let me go change. Beer, beer. Hard liquor, I gotta go change.
But the point is that those fights, not that they gave me ideas, but adding stupid, silly, superfluous fights for no reason. At least you have an idea of the left, the right, the boxers. Man, when my father said, he said, when you're in the boxing ring, think about that when you're working, because it gives you the balance. Spider-Man can't just kick and web and swing away. It's got to be able to learn. And same with Daredevil. Daredevil was more balletic and more graceful. But he said, think about when you do the thing. You know, that's a right cross that should shatter a building. And we did things like that. The same with the Hulk. But the Hulk was more bestial, and we didn't want to do it in a boxer's way.
Right. He wasn't a trained martial artist.
Right.
Hulk was a gorilla.
Yeah, exactly.
Personified. Whereas the Thing is a street fighter.
Yeah, and he would know a left cross and a jab and a right cross. Yeah. And that was the fun part, is it gave reality to the fantasy, and that's the fun part.
Yeah. Stocky, low gravity, like Joe Pesci. Yeah, the Thing.
There it is. Angus Fungus. I got it.
I mean, you were born into Marvel. You know what I mean? The famous story is you saw your dad drawing, and you said you wanted to do this. Was Marvel your first job? Did you have a paper route? Did you make pizza or anything like that?
Good question. I worked in for a landscaper, picking up leaves and pulling weeds when I was in my early teens, and then middle teens, 15. I worked at a delicatessen.
John passed out. For those of you who don't know, working summertime in
damn it. Oh, I'm back. Okay. And I worked at a delicatessen, and then that was when I was 15, worked till I was 17. And then I went to school for a couple of years. And on day of commencement, I got called back from Marvel, and they said, we got some work for you. You want to do this, and this? I was an intern, basically. And I was paid a pittance, just put it that way. But I got a chance to work at the office. I was photocopying the pages that came in, and I was basically washing windows. But it was a great experience, and I learned to do some things. Marie Severin gave me work. She was actually the one that hired me, Marie Severin.
Oh,
God bless her. And
what a talent. I love her work.
Great lady. And Romita Sr. said, I'm not going to give you a job because I know the shit you'll go through. And I still got put through shit because people didn't like the fact that I was getting work with the same name as my father. And Marie Severin gave me work and told them all to shut up. And listen, I got called Junior in a derisive fashion by some of my father's compatriots. Yeah, Frank Giacoy, I think the guy that did it, John Tartaglione. These names have a commonality, by the way.
Yeah.
And said, Junior, go get me a cup of coffee. That was a derisive term, as not literally a JR, Junior. This was, you're a miniature version of your father. Go get us a cup of coffee, Junior.
Go get your shine box, kid. Yeah.
There you go. And eventually it stuck as I was Junior, and somebody said, well, that's interesting, JR, and so on. But Romita Sr. did not want me to work for Marvel. He did not want me to work in the industry. He said, if you're going to be an artist, I want you to be a painter. I want you to be a fine illustrator. Go to advertising. I majored in advertising illustration. That was my degree.
That's interesting. So he actually discouraged you from comics.
Absolutely. He was adamant. He did not want me to do it. But when I got to work, he said, okay, how many years of school you got in here? I said, I got the first year. He says, finish the second year, and then we'll talk about it. So I finished the second year, but I worked freelance in 1975. And at the end of 76, I got the work.
And that was it?
2 years of school, and I dropped out and got work. And I started work for Marvel. And it's not that I regret not getting my full degree, but I got a junior's degree in advertising illustration, and I could have matriculated to a larger university, but I got a chance to work at Marvel, and I took it. And my father ground his teeth and said, "You're on your own, kid." And he was true to his word. I got I got treated like dog shit. Let's just put it that way.
Well, my brother's a big wig at my job too. So like, like I had to go to work. I couldn't show up late because then he would say you're embarrassing me. And my brother's gigantic. You know what I mean? He's the biggest human being on the planet. So it's like he would have no problem.
Then Virginia begins to work at Marvel, becomes the production manager. And there was another term, you're not going to get a break just because your parents run the company. Then things got ramped up even worse, the dislike. And I had to show my stuff instead of just skating. And it didn't always work. People disliked me, and I got told more than a few times, "You're only doing this because of your parents or your father." And my father said, "Keep your hands in your pocket, keep your mouth shut, and do your job." And that's how you shut them up. Is shut them up professionally. You're not out with your friends now. You can't take a swing at everybody.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Whoever just typed that, I'm saying hello to you too, boss. Whoever that was, it just typed it. Hello, John B. Oh, John. Okay, who is that?
I'm John B.
I'm John B. I'm sorry. Who's that?
That's
Omnipro. Okay.
B. I'm Omnipo B. And I'm
Okay.
John B. This is John's long box, in case you don't know where you are.
All right. Omnipo B. No, I saw that. I just didn't know if it was John B the way you referred to it. Sorry about it. Omnipo B. Okay.
Tony Grigo wants to know, do you have any Jack Kirby stories? Everybody wants to know
about
Jack.
I do. I've told it before. Yeah, Tone. The first time I ever felt I needed to get faster, I was struggling with getting quicker. And Jack Kirby was up at the office, and my father got me in. I was in the office just visiting, and Jack Kirby comes wandering in. I had brought pages in, whatever it was, and I said, "Mr. Kirby," he says, "call me Jack," and I got the big cigar. He looked like a character out of a '50s movie.
Yeah, you were talking to the thing.
Yeah, there you go. And he said, "What's your question?" I said, "How do I get faster?" He says, "How many pages you do a day?" And I, inside of me, laughing hysterically, "How many pages a day? You mean how many days to each page?" Is what I said. He says, "Tell me, how many pages can you do in a day?" I said, "One." And he takes the cigar. He says, "Are you kidding me?" He says, "Throw away your fucking eraser." Just like that. In other words, stop second guessing yourself and stop erasing and redoing. Your first guess, your first foray is generally the best one. John Buscema even reiterated, Dev, he's right. He said, if you don't overthink and erase and try to do it over again, you'll be okay. It worked more than enough that I realized I should stick with my first impression. That's why I started to rough pages out and learn and figure out the right thing to do in the roughing parts, and then do the finishes. But I'll never forget that. Never forget the two of them, two greatest illustrators, artists in comics history. And Romita Sr. just wouldn't give me advice. He said, if you come up to me and ask me to do something, ask a question, I'll answer it, but I'm not going to proactively give you any information. So I got information from Jack Kirby and John Buscema.
You reminded me of when I met your dad and we were talking. He said that he was drawing, and every time Sal Buscema would come by, he would get nervous because Sal would go, "Are you erasing? Is that an eraser in your hand? Get that eraser away." You got, and he was like, "Sorry, Sal," and he would continue, and then Sal would walk away, and then he said, he goes, "I was too much of a perfectionist." He goes, "But Sal was the fastest."
Sal was fast. Sal was fast. So was John Buscema. He would send his Conan pages up when I was working on staff right after I finished school. I finished the second year. I worked up at Marvel as a consultant, they called me, but I was just I was an intern. And the pages would come in from Buscema, and I would photocopy them to send to Roy Thomas to keep, and the pages were sent to Roy Thomas. And interestingly, if the original pages were sent to the writer, because there was no such thing as a scanning, but there were fax machines a couple of years later, still couldn't send the artwork in a fax machine. It was just a small sheet of paper. So we would send the originals out. On the backs of the original pages from Buscema were the most beautiful illustrations that you could not conceive of. His breakdowns that Rudy Nebres finished were beautiful, but they were breakdowns and they were just slightly finished. his illustrations on the back. He said he would wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, a cigarette, and then he would practice on the backs of the pages that he sent to the office. And they were just warm-ups, he said. It's like a pitcher in bullpen.
Oh my, like lost.
And I would look at them, and everybody in the office wanted me to make photocopies of it. I sent out 5 or 6 copies to everybody because they just marveled at the beauty of his illustrations. That was Johnny B.
Wow, that is so cool. That's so cool. Henry Jarmek asked, as your style developed over time, first your art seemed more like John Buscema, then it became more Jack Kirby. Do you feel this is accurate?
It became Jack Kirby because I was told that I'm not told. I asked Jack Kirby how to get weight and the mass to all the characters, and he gave me a couple of bits of advice to make them more three-dimensional. Make sure that you have a side to it, and maybe I got a little boxy in my early years. But to Buscema, if it's in my head to look like Buscema, it didn't come out that way. By the time I got to the end of my hand, but I was more thinking about Romita Sr. because I didn't think I could ever draw as beautifully as Buscema, and I didn't think I could draw as beautifully as Romita Sr. And Kirby was more gritty and more street level, so to speak. It was a style as opposed to being beautiful. And Kirby said, you make sure you have a third dimension to those figures. And when a character walks, you see the ground crumble. When the Hulk stood,
Yeah.
you need to feel the weight. And, you get some crackle in the ground when he's standing. Little bits of advice like that, and it helped me. So if I became more Jack Kirby-ish, it wasn't that I could control it. It was because I was so enamored with the way his characters had mass to them. That's the way comics should be. If it looks like Kirby, so be it. But I did not want. I didn't want to copy anybody because I was ashamed of looking bad if I did it and didn't do it well. But I had 3 greatest of all time: Romita, Kirby, and Buscema were my heroes in comics. And all the other illustration guys, the J.C. Leyendeckers, the Henry Gibsons, and the Wyeth family. God Almighty, there's so many great illustrators. Those were college illustrators, but the guys in comics were the heroes of mine.
Yeah. What would be your favorite?
Sorry, drop.
We all
I
stood
dropped
up.
my laptop.
We all stood up and saluted the flag.
There it is. There it is.
Do you, I got to ask, because one of my favorites of all time is Will Eisner. Did you ever meet Will?
Never met him. No, I did not.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say I never did.
Okay.
But there's so many guys that I love meeting, like Garcia Lopez, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, one of the great illustrators.
Yeah, so good.
Al Williamson, just brilliant. Neil Adams, brilliant illustrators. And they were all in comics. And before comics, they were in advertising or whatever they were in. Just fantastic artists before they got into comics. Will Eisner was a great man. Yes, he was. I wish I had met him. I wish I had met him.
Yeah, I could. Oh, thank you, Sir Angus. I started collecting creepy and eerie magazines just recently.
There you go.
I got a little bit of spare money, and oh my God, Al Williamson. I watch Al Williams. I read Al Williamson. I look at his artwork, and to me, that's. I call him probably the greatest draftsman that I could experience.
He's in it. He's up there. And the great story in Daredevil was when I got asked by Ralph Macchio to do Daredevil. He said, we got Ann Nocenti on it. Would you like to work with Ann Nocenti? Yeah, of course. She had been my editor while I was working on the X-Men. He said, don't quit. I was about to quit because I was pissed off what happened with the X-Men books. They wouldn't let me back on. And it doesn't matter. That's an old story. But I said, I'll work with Ann Nocenti. I loved her. She was a great lady and a great writer. And he said, well, so who do you want to who do you want to ink you? I said, I don't know. Get me Al Williamson. Ha 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 ha, laughing. And they called Williamson. And he says, yeah, of course, I'd love to do his stuff. And I said, don't mess with me, guys. Don't fuck with me. Don't tell me this isn't really going to happen if it's not going to happen. And he and I worked on Daredevil for a good long time, and he worked on Man Without Fear. And because of him and Frank, possibly the best thing I've ever done over the course of 50 years, just because of the combination of great story from Frank and the great illustration over me by Williamson. Just fantastic stuff.
Do you change your style or adapt when you hear who the inker is going to be? Because I
No, not with the ink art. No, not with the ink artist. If it happens with the change of writers, it's not because of concerted effort. It's because they challenge me in different ways. The Spider-Man writers change, and the challenges are tough. Man Without Fear was brilliant because of Frank Miller. When you get handed just a couple of manuscript sheets, uh, and he says to you, knock yourself out, have fun. That's what Frank did. He knew what I could do because he and I grew into the business together. And the storytelling was there. And after the first 60 pages, not even 60 pages, 50 pages, he says, listen, I'm gonna have an addendum. This is Frank. I have an addendum between 17 and 18, page 17 and 18. He says, I know you could finish in a couple of weeks. He says, but I got to throw something in. I got about a week later, calls me up. He says, I'm going to send it to you. 88-page addendum in between page 17 and page 18. And I cracked up. I said, Frank, what are you doing? And it became 164 pages of artwork. But it was brilliant. And he let me do whatever I wanted. And that was when I realized that I could stay in the business. But I was so pissed off at the X-Men folks for not letting me back on the X-Men. And they made me do Star Brand. And they said, when you're done with Star Brand, you can get back on the X-Men. It didn't happen. I said, that's it, I'm gone. And I walked out. And Ralph Macchio said, don't go anywhere. He says, I want to propose something to you. And I got to Daredevil. And then I got to Man Without Fear. And suddenly, oh, okay, so you like me now. Thank you. Yeah. All right. No, I'm not going to do the X-Men. I think I did the Iron Man again, but I didn't do the X-Men again.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm having I can't stop smiling. The Don wants to know, what do you think of the way comics are now? The wokeness, the messaging, any
great. That's a great way to segue into this conversation. I have asked on more than a couple occasions at conventions, there's a crowd in a convention. I said, if nobody's got a question, I do. Do you need more story than you do pinups? And I say, for lack of a better term, the pinup era. And they kind of nod and say, we like the amount of story added. So I think the difference is that there are more 9-panel pages. There's more substance to the stories, and the artists are forced to tell a story. I didn't feel the stretch. I think there's a couple artists that may have struggled with storytelling once it became more important to tell a sequential story than it was to do a pinup. You can't do a full page pinup all the time, but you can use it as a tool. And I think some people struggled, some people didn't. I don't know. I embraced the storytelling, and I can handle it. And I think that's the difference in answer to the question. The wokeness, you can't do anything about it, because if you complain about the wokeness, then you're going to be labeled a redneck or something to that effect. I keep my mouth shut. I'm an independent. I do not discuss politics in comics. But if it's done well, I don't care what the basis of it is. Chuck Dixon and I got along famously because we enjoyed the Punisher being the vigilante that what he was. That is what he was. But if somebody were to say to me, and now Anna Senti was a progressive writer, but she didn't take offense to any of my ideas, and I didn't take offense to it either because they were beautifully done.
Right, she has talent. She
yes,
yeah.
The females, the female end of it, that's great. So no, I don't take offense to wokeness. But if somebody says to me, you have to do this because we know it pisses you off. Now, come on, give me a break. I'm an independent. I'm a registered independent. I will not scream and yell at anybody. But it has to be done well. I will do anything if it's done well. You give me a good script and you allow me to run with it, I will. I did it with Ant. I did it with Frank. I did it with Chuck Dixon. I've done it with Chris Claremont. I can adapt. And as long as you don't try to hold me to account with politics, I'm good. As long as you write me a good script.
So that's my next question then. Do you like having input in the script, or do you, like as John Byrne used to call it, I'm just the art robot?
John Byrne gave me the greatest of compliments by giving me first. He gave me the first deadline. Not deadline. Excuse me. The first headline. I was the name was first. Art and story by John Romita Jr. John Byrne writer. He gave me that credit, and that was the first time and the last time it ever happened. But I don't take I get some input. Yes. When I have a plot idea, I will tell the writer. But if the writer sends me a script, I'm given latitude to play with as I see fit. And I think it's getting kind of dark here. Let me turn this up. All right, a little better. Now you see how big my nose is. The writers give me latitude, and I love that. Neil Gaiman was the one who said specifically, "Listen, I know what you can do. Don't think of this as a script." This was when we did the Eternals. He said it may have dialogue in it, but don't think of it as a script. Play with it as you see fit. Let me know what you're going to do. And I didn't take anything away from what he gave me. I added to it. The same with Frank, and the same with all the other writers. I'll never take away because their stuff is viable. But I'll add some sequences. I'll add some moments, and the vignettes that I'll add apply to the story and apply to the editorial part. Never take away because their stuff is brilliant.
We got comics with Jose says, I'm looking forward to a new comic with Mark Miller. It looks like a brilliant concept. Yeah, back it now. Back it while we're on. Trick John into thinking that I got some influence over here.
Listen, it's a brilliant idea, but it's become more brilliant because Klaus and Bill Crabtree and I are working on it. When I'm given latitude like Mark does on a brilliant project, like I said, I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what you think. You give me a brilliant idea, I'll try to continue the brilliance. And we're working on it. It's just, and I told Mark from the first time I read the script, this is a film. He said, "Good, now turn it into a script, turn it into a film." So that's what we've done. Stop action film.
One of my pet peeves in all comics, like indie comics, whatever, is storytelling. Is like I hate when I buy a comic and I like the panels it's disjointed, and I kind of pick on early Image as my poster child for bad storytelling in comics. I mean, you work for DC, you work for Image, but you're mostly a Marvel guy. What was the thoughts in Marvel when Image Comics was outselling? And I'm going to be quite mean, and this comics weren't really that good.
I don't recall the reaction to the Image guys. The Image guys asked me to join them, but I was on X-Men at the time. And I didn't want to take a chance of passing up the best-selling book in the industry, and it was at the time. I don't regret. I would have loved to have tried it and see what would have happened, but I don't remember Marvel ever saying anything. "Oh man, we've got to beat them. They suck." This kind of thing. It was never a reaction. It was stick to what we know how to do. And eventually, it came back. Everything leveled out, normaled out. You don't begrudge them their success. It worked out nicely, and I worked at Image later on. But none of those guys were still working at Image at the time. And anything I did as best I could without being affected by ancillary of the books and yes, the pinup era, so to speak, for the ages. I did not want to do it. I enjoyed it when I did it. I love double page spreads, wraparound covers. I love the gatefold covers, but I wasn't built that way. I was built telling a story, and I learned from great artists before me, and even got great advice from Jim Shooter. Tell the story deliberately, overtell, because I want to know where you are at every moment. The reader is where we are at every moment, and give up a money shot if you have to, but do not sacrifice a pinup for storytelling. And I stuck with it. And listen, I'm an average. There we go. Psychic Sam stuff. I'm an average artist. I'm a decent draftsman, but I'm a good storyteller.
I think storytelling is the most important part of comic book art.
Okay, makes my art look better. It really does make my art look better.
Otherwise, it's just a poster book. But like, this, I'm getting a little more negative than I like to get. But sometimes I read a comic, I'm like, these are all wonderful images, but I don't know what's going on. I've never had that with you.
I appreciate that.
Your dad was the art director for Marvel for so long. Like storytelling, these old timers like Jack Kirby, John Buscema, your father, these guys were just classic storytellers.
Yeah. And I learned it from Romita Sr. in that he told me you got to make it make sense panel to panel, not just every 6 pages. Right. And the flowing of the action, don't get a big break when you turn the page. It is the hardest and the best part. That's a great point. It is the most difficult because you can always become a great draftsman by practicing. Storytelling is not easy, but I learned watching films with Romita Sr. He would take me to see a lot of, thank you very much. He would take me to see a lot of great films, or we would watch them on rainy days during the summertime when there was no chance to go out and play ball. And he would explain it to me and tell me, this is what's going to happen next on the waterfront, 12 Angry Men, The Big Country. that he said, "Watch this is going to happen in this." And I watched Casablanca with Bogart, and then the Philip Marlowe movies with the rain off the brim of the hat, film noir. I love that stuff. And he would tell me how to make it flow page to page. Didn't tell me how to do it. He said, "You have to do it.
Right.
Make it make sense that if you turn the page, you don't lose where you are." And that was vital because a lot of that happens when you change scenes or if you change the page, turn the page. Wait a minute, let me see what's going on the page before. Oh, okay, there it is. No, you can't do that. I want to be deliberate in the storytelling so that you don't have to question where you are or what's going on. I want it to be plain as the day is. And the enough said issue back in the day, where no dialogue and no captions, I embraced that. I want to do it again. Where artists would call me and say, "How are we going to do this? I can't do this. I need a caption." No, make it deliberate. Tell the story. I think that was a good point in comics history. Was
Oh, yeah.
that enough said? I would love to do it again just to show I can tell a story again. That's the fun part.
It just shows you how comics change because Ditko, that famous issue, I forget the number, when he's trapped by the machine and he's struggling. I always say that's the issue with Spider-Man abandoned his childhood and became an adult. Originally, Ditko just wanted to do that without words, and Stan, as loquacious as Stan was, put in words, and they Stan and Steve were famously fighting.
That sequence with that machinery on top of him is about as good as it gets. I agree.
I love that. I love that. And I wonder if that was 20 years later, would Stan have let it be enough said issue? Everybody
You
talks
never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Stan likes to talk. Stan likes to type. That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's too late to ask him, but that's a really good question.
Now I got to ask you, any good Stan stories? Anything you want to
Yeah.
I never
well, I did work on a Fantastic Four issue with him, so I got a chance to work with him directly. But when I was a kid, I'd go into the office with my father, and when they were doing plotting, Stan would do the plots verbally. And he was acting like a cartoon character. He was up on his desk saying, "Spider-Man had to do this." He said, "This is not Daredevil. This is an awkward teenage kid. He's got to be crawly and weird." And he says, Daredevil. Daredevil's a ballet dancer compared to Spider-Man. And he says, "This is what he's got to do." And Romita Sr. is writing notes and he's nodding his head. And Stan's saying, "He's got to look really awkward and he's got to be unattractive. Romita, you always draw beautiful people. Now, can't do that anymore. This is a different type of an animal."
Spiders are ugly. Spiders are ugly.
But Stan did play out the plots verbally and sometimes bodily.
People say that they want to know. Did you pick Kickstarter? There's a couple of platforms. I guess Kickstarter is the most popular, the most famous. So it's got the name recognition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did I choose it? No. Mark suggested that we try it. I didn't presume that I was going to get anything special because I could just say, "Oh, I'll do Kickstarter." But when Creator Own comes along and Mark says, "Oh, I have something," when Mark comes along with a Creator Own, I don't pass it up. I told Mark I wanted to work with him because Marvel actually approached him about doing something for them again, as did DC. And he said, "Only if we can do it, Johnny and I can do it with this idea that I have." And Marvel didn't get back to him. So he went to Kickstarter, and that's where we are. And it's beyond brilliant. It's so cool. And that image of Sam with the gun pointed at the reader is a little tweak on the Punisher. Come on. Tell me that looks like a little bit like the Punisher. Come on.
I didn't want to say it. But yeah. So let me get
now listen. That wasn't intentional. That was not intentional in any way. I had no idea anybody was going to take it wrong.
That is a classic Romita nose right there.
There you go, busted nose. And Mark says, "Listen, this guy's a boxer. He's a truck driver. He's got to look like a boxer." Okay, I've done it before. I could do it again.
I always love that line in The Exorcist. You know that priest, the one who looks like a boxer? He's got a Romita. It's funny that you said, because I always play a game and my wife hates it, but we'll see strangers and I go, "Oh, that guy was drawn by John Romita Sr. That guy was drawn by John Romita." You know what I mean? Like John Byrne has a classic face. Unfortunately, there's people with Steve Ditko faces. There's a woman in the restaurant, one of the waitresses that is a a Jack Kirby woman. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yep. And listen, that's the best part about being a people watcher. We're in the airport, my wife and I, and she's reading, and I'm just staring at people. Excuse the expression, for lack of a better term. I will look at people and watch people, and I get some brilliant ideas about characters. There was one guy in when we were coming back into the country. He was looking at the passports, or we were on our way out of the country to go to Italy. I forgot where we were. And this guy was one of the most unique people you ever want to see. I said, Kath, I got to draw this guy. So I did a sketch of him, and I used him in one of the books. I sit in an airport, and if it's an hour or 2 hours, the world will walk by you as they're on their way to their gates. Every color, creed, shape, and I mean shape, gigantic people, small people, boxers, ballet dancers types, everything. And if you don't look with the best camera, Romita Sr. told me, he said, the best camera is right here. And I that's the thing I learned most from Romita, was watching and be perceptive. And when he and I worked on Captain Marvel, the female Captain Marvel, he asked me who I'd like to fashion it after, and I told him Pam Grier. I said I was in love with Pam Grier when I was a teenager. He says, "Okay, she's beautiful, great, let's do Pam Grier." So we go to lunch, and we get in, and the waitress comes over to us when we get to a cafe. The waitress comes over to us, this statuesque, perfect woman. And my father said, this woman is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Very tall, just gigantic, with a gigantic head of hair, breathtaking. My father starts to sketch on a napkin. And he says, yeah, I know you love Pam Grier. He says, forget about it. He didn't say forget about Pam Grier. He says, screw Pam Grier. We have our Captain Marvel right here. And the waitress was Pam Grier. I hope she never hears this story, because Captain Marvel was fashioned after that waitress. We'll get sued if we ever get that story to her. But that was what the camera is, the best. Excuse me, the eyes are the best camera. And he drew a sketch of her, and that was Captain Marvel. It was great.
That is awesome. I've been asking this of the artists who come on my channel. Do you find that your women that you draw just tend to be like the women that you find attractive? Like Will Eisner must have liked Veronica Lake, or Betty,
Yeah.
Jack Kirby.
No, I actually, the answer to that is no, because I make an effort to make everybody look different.
Okay.
If I fall into that black hole of making all women look alike, that's a failing on my part. But I try not to do all the upper cheekbones and all the angular face. I got to do round faces. And see, I have the most beautiful woman in the world as a wife. I could never do justice to it. So she asked, how come you never draw me in comics? And she's laughing at me because she knows I'm going to say it, because I could never do justice. She'll get pissed at me.
Oh, what a sweet talker you are, man. You are good.
Hey, I'm no dummy. Mama didn't raise no dummy. But I can't fall into that trap of trying to make everybody into the trap of making everybody look the same. I've got to try and do differently. And I've tried it. I've failed, but I've also succeeded. Some women look different. Some women, no. For instance, Psychic Sam's wife has the Mary Jane dimples, and I hadn't done that in a million years. So I gave her Mary Jane dimples, but she's got a special kind of a haircut. Just an attempt to do something different.
Yeah. What was it? Oh, like John Byrne, one of my favorite comic book artists of all time. No offense, but he always drew the same woman over and over and over. And I always wondered what his wife looked like. Did you look like gray, or was that just because even his early Charlton stuff, I'm reading the Doomsday +1. I'm like, that's Jean Grey. Jeffrey Gay wants to know, would you please consider doing actual process videos? Do you do anything on YouTube?
No, but it has been a discussion. I'm amazed that you're mentioning this, because my son and my wife and I have talked about it, doing the process video of the my storytelling process. And the trick is to keeping it to 10 minutes. I don't know if I can say anything in less than 10 minutes. I have a big mouth. However, having said that, we have discussed it, and we may get to that. Yeah, because I think it would be a lot of fun to talk about the storytelling, and then show the process with the roughs, show how I do the notes in each script. And I got a sheet here as I'm working on the next Spider-Man issue, and I do little notes next to the screen, to the manuscript that the writer sends me. Instead of thumbnailing There it is. Instead of thumbnailing it, literally thumbnailing it out, I write notes in the borders, and it reminds me of what to draw, and I give myself little instructions. Spider-Man left foreground from behind, extreme foreground, that kind of. I give myself almost stage notes, and I know exactly what I want to do just by the little notes I give myself. And then I rough the pages out and I do the finishes. I would love to explain that process.
Yeah,
It's mine, and I hope it's unique. But uh, it works for me, and I love storytelling because it makes my art look better. Please, okay, I will.
yeah,
I hope we can get to it. I'm going to tell my son Joey and my wife that somebody actually mentioned that,
yeah.
and
A lot of people. That just happened to be the one comment I brought up, and I saw that comment flying by in the chat.
the answer is yes. I would love to share the storytelling fun with you guys. It does change writer to writer, but the process is the same, and I would love to do that. Yeah, and I heard that if it does well, you might make a couple of extra shekels. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you'll be.
Listen, I'm a communist. No, I'm wrong. I'm a capitalist of the all kinds. I'm a capitalist pig, except for the pig part.
I was hanging out with Billy Tucci, lives close by me.
Great man, great guy. Love that man.
He messaged me, "Hey John, we're going to Free Comic Book Day. I'll come, go to Fourth World Comics. We'll hang out." I was like, when Billy Tucci says, "John, we're hanging out," it was my wife and I's anniversary. I told her there's always next year, and I got to go hang out with Billy Tucci. No, it wasn't ever. But
he's a great guy. Saw him in Italy. He and Bill Sienkiewicz. We all go back a million years. It's great to see those people.
Yeah, he was. I told him that I was trying to get, because it's funny because I was messaging you. Check your Twitter for unanswered messages from me, and then Mark Malloy says, "Hey John, would you mind having John Romita Jr. on?" I was like, "Would I mind?" Like, absolutely. He's like, "Okay, I'll ask him if he wants to come on." So that was fun. But
it was my pleasure, especially because it helps Psychic Sam out. I can't tell you how much this means to me to work with Mark again. This is such a brilliant idea. If you don't know the premise, just look it up. But it's a brilliant premise, and to do justice to it is a challenge. And Mark's happy with it. Klaus is happy with it. Bill Crabtree is happy with it, and I'm happy with it too. And I'm starting the second issue, and it's just more of the same. It's a film. It's going to be 3 films. I'm telling you, the 3 books are 3 films. It's live action. Excuse me, live action. A stop action film.
I'm going to play you trailer, okay? So
Yeah, please do.
I'm going to make this big, and I'm going to play you trailer. I got to hit the right buttons.
My name is Sam Nicoletti, and I see murders before they happen. A little voice tells me the killer's name and address. And if I stop them, I save a life. If I ignore them, an innocent human dies. What would you do in my situation?
Psychic Sam is a classic boys comic. It's about a guy with a big gun who goes out and solves problems, and he hears voices in his head tell him to kill bad guys. The only trouble is the bad guys haven't done anything yet, but every time he ignores it, someone innocent dies, and it's only a matter of time before the bodies start piling up.
I'm working with a guy named Mark Miller. Mark and I started on Wolverine together, and we got to create Kick-Ass, and we had a brilliant time. It changed our lives. So now we come up with a third collaboration, and it's called Psychic Sam, and I have the legend Klaus Janson working with me, and then the brilliant Bill Crabtree doing the color art. And we are having an all-out blast with this.
The big news is we're also doing a movie of Psychic Sam. There's a guy called Ivan Atkinson who's brilliant. He's Guy Ritchie's producer, and he's produced some of my favorite films from Guy. Wrath of Man, The Gentleman, all these amazing films Guy's been doing over the last few years.
Ivan Atkinson, yep. I'm excited to be teaming up with Mark Miller and his exciting new project, Psychic Sam. Mark and I have been talking about working together for a number of years, and I found the project that I think brings fascinating characters and action together, reminded me of the films I grew up loving.
This is completely outside of Miller World and Netflix and all the stuff I've been doing for the last 20 years, really. None of those books will be affected, and all our new titles will still be out there every month. I just carved out a wee holiday for myself and thought I'd be doing something for maybe Marvel or DC again. Then I thought, wouldn't it be great to do some creator ones with Johnny Romita Jr.?
There's so many great tiers to this, so many great levels to this. We're going to do a black and white version with a painted cover.
Done in the style of a 1970s Marvel magazine, beautifully packaged in that big magazine-size format. There's hardcovers, there's t-shirts, there's trading cards, there's stickers.
Spectacular stuff. You can also get written and drawn into the issues which would be a lot of fun. I have to do justice to all of you.
We're assembling a fantastic team of filmmakers on this production, and we will have some more information for you guys soon.
We just are having so much fun with the character. It's probably as good as it gets, but the fact that it's the third time with Mark, it's a charm.
I think there's something special brewing here, so don't miss it.
Nice. Thank you for that.
What happened? Oh,
All right. Yep.
yeah. I hit the wrong button.
That's all right.
It wouldn't be my show if there wasn't technical mess ups. Oh my God. Right. I purposely didn't watch the trailer. I purposely didn't back because I wanted to do it live with you. And that is a great concept. So this guy knows you're going to commit a crime, and that's a moral dilemma. Do I stop the crime before it happens? And then,
well, he has these dreams, so to speak, these episodes, and they hit him like a ton of bricks, and he doesn't know that those are live events until he sees it in the news, so to speak. And it's a brilliant concept. And then what we have to do is come up with the way of showing it. And I think that's when Mark leaves it up to me. And, he's in his tractor trailer in the beginning, and he almost plows over 100 people with the tractor trailer because he has an episode, and he pulls off the road, smashes his truck into the side of a mountain in California, and ends up in the hospital, and realizes that the episode that he had days earlier when he crashed his truck is in the news. Oh my God, I saw what that kid did. So he's got to listen to those episodes, and now it happens again. It happens again and again and again. And what do? You have a chance to stop a mass murderer long before.
Yeah, but the dilemma is the cops. He's just attacking innocent people.
That's it.
That is
there. You go.
I'm actually nervous, and I didn't even read the comic yet.
I can't give you any more because I'm afraid I'll give too much stuff away. But
I'm bad with spoilers with my
you
stuff.
can extrapolate. You can take it with as you want. But that's the small premise. There's so much more to this, and there's a smash ending in the first, let alone at the end of 3. Your dad was a trucker, and he ended his career driving with a bad crash. I'm sorry, boss. I'm really sorry. Yeah. That was one of the most difficult shots I've ever had to work on. Was that sequence of a tractor trailer crashing on a California freeway? Not easy, and that's the way Mark challenges me.
I got to keep my mouth shut about a character that I made up. That trust your gut. I have. It's
talk about trust your gut. There you go. Trust your gut.
I have a big fat detective who keeps saying that you got to trust your guts. You got to trust your guts. Yeah. So no, I didn't rip off Mark Miller.
Okay, but that's all right. I just got the wave from the wife. I don't know if I should talk much longer, but
okay, yeah. I don't
want. No, there's a way of ending this. I can just say that this might be, without a doubt, the best creator-owned property I've ever worked on, and that's what Mark does to you. He allows me to play, and then he gives you enough to make it great. And like I said, I got Klaus fixing all of my mistakes. I got Bill Crabtree turning my mistakes into color beautiful. Everything is in place. And there's 3 gigantic issues. We finished the first one. I'm working on the second one. It does not get any better. Even Mark said it. This is something special. And I would not tell you that if I didn't know it for true.
Well, it looks good. It's a great premise, man. It really is a great premise. I didn't even get a chance to talk to you about Klaus yet, but you got to go.
No, I'll give you a quick one. Klaus is a teacher, and I learned things from him as I grew up in the industry and worked with him. Same with Scott Hanna. They're teachers. They are artists before they're ink artists. Klaus and I have worked on a lot of gritty stuff, and Punisher and everything along those lines. I love his style for grittiness and street level stuff. And this is what that is. And I'm looking forward to you all seeing it. Thank you very, very much for that compliment. You can see I'm not shy, so I'm enjoying every minute of this. But Klaus is another artist, and so is Bill Crabtree. There's 3 artists on this, and I love it.
Yeah, everybody has great interaction with Klaus. He's probably the most beloved guy in comics. But
he's a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart as well as being a great artist. Yes, you're right.
You got to go. I don't want to keep you. I don't want to.
No, if I talked for an hour, I think I've talked for over an hour. I got a big mouth.
I could talk all night. I mean, Irish Catholic Italian from New York. I'll talk to you.
Oh, Madonna, you got it. Yes, you got inoculated with a phonograph needle. I know that old joke. Yes.
Yeah, that's funny. The nun used to say that to me.
All right, John Boy, it was great talking to you. Great finally meeting you face to face.
Nice meeting you, man. Thank you so much. This was a blast. You made my night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You made my night too. Thanks a lot, boss. And listen, let's do it again. Everybody else, anybody that's listening, this is a blast, and I hope you I hope you enjoy it as much as I look forward to you enjoying it.
Check your Twitter. You're going to see 900 messages from me. You want to come on my channel? Want to come on my channel?
Ciao, folks.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye. And go over to the Fourth Age. I'm going to hop on over to RJ at the Fourth Age. He's already live, and we're gonna talk there. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks a lot, John. And I don't know what else to say. This was awesome. Everybody, go back Psychic Sam. It's a great premise. I got the chills. I legit got the chills at that premise. It's awesome. Bye-bye, everybody.